So we're on like the 8th day now of Democratic influencers and operatives sending and sicking their followings, their very large followings, on me for the crime of critiquing and criticizing Jasmine Crockett now that she's announced she's running for Senate. And it really has been something. It's been like the 8 days of Christmas for mediocre white men with a grudge. Which brings me to the latest person who has sicked their massive following on me. This guy, Pearl Mania, or If Powder Had a Redheaded Son. You might remember him from such campaigns like the Priorities one, where he was paid to do content on behalf of the Democratic Party. And what you should know about these Democratic Party influencer agencies is that they will pay you just as much to attack to your left as they will the right. Which again, I'm fine with if you want to get paid to make content for the Democratic Party. But I've said from the beginning, since all you guys got exposed, that it's not about the fact that you took money from the Democratic Party, although I'm sure that had a little something to do with the fact that you were doing genocide PR. But if you get paid, you should disclose it, is all I'm saying. When you see people like this lying and smearing people like me because we criticize the Democratic Party, understand they will quite literally do anything for money. Like, this guy was doing genocide propaganda on behalf of Biden up until the end. White men like this that do genocide apologia, there is no moral line that he won't cross. He will have no compunction throwing you to the wolves too. White liberals especially, they are cowards. And so oftentimes when they want to punch down at marginalized groups, but they're too afraid to, they put a white qualifier on it. But make no mistake about it, they'd excuse your death just as fast as they're excusing the Palestinians. The second part of his really bizarre attack on me, aside from the typical usual incredibly lame, "Where's Jill Stein? You're white and live in Brooklyn." Bitch, you are chalk-ass white, high C, rich and from Philly. Like, what of it? But let's set aside those very original and well-crafted attacks for a moment. I want to talk about the part where he tried to weaponize somebody else's blackness to do empire propaganda. So he said at one part that my video talking about Jasmine Crockett was so racist that I had to bring up James Tellerico. First, I'm going to show you the parts of the video that he's saying are racist. Maybe he can explain to me, now that his bitch ass finally unblocked, what about my critiques of her are racist? What really bothers me about Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett running for Senate in Texas is not the fact that she ran this really embarrassing, incredibly narcissistic ad that basically is just about herself, or the fact that Texas very much is still a red state, so it's unlikely that a Democrat is going to win for the Senate there. What actually really bothers me about it is how willing progressives are, my fellow people on the left, to quickly abandon everything you claim to stand for just because you like someone's personality. I saw this article and I was like, is this a fucking joke? Jasmine Crockett's bid for the Senate is the latest sign of a Tea Party style revolt for progressives? Yeah, you can't call it a Tea Party revolt and then run like a standard corporate Democrat pretending it's an insurgency. Democrats literally do this every fucking cycle. Stop falling for it, because voters are angry. Every time you lie to them and con them, you lose more permanently. Proving once again that you've learned shit from the last election. You can cope and seethe about it all you want, but the fact of the matter is, Jasmine Crockett is a very standard conservative corporate Democrat. Just because she's good at trolling Trump and she's got a good media presence doesn't make her a progressive. In her first run, she was heavily propped up by the crypto PACs, the same ones that support Trump. She also went on one of those paid pro-Israel trips where they do propaganda with the IOF war criminals. It's actually a video someone compiled 15 minutes straight of her dodging questions about the Israeli regime and refusing to say we should stop funding them. Some people will be quick to point out, well, she doesn't take money from AIPAC. This? Absolutely unacceptable. The whole point of criticizing people from taking money from AIPAC is that they're being bribed to support the Israeli regime. Doing it for free doesn't make it any better. She always votes with the Israeli regime in their funding. She also bragged against her opponent in 2020 that she wasn't taking corporate PAC money and then promptly went on to take a ton of corporate PAC money. Before you think that there's hope for another candidate in that James Tellerico guy, you could be mistaken. Because while you'll hear people say... So that was the Jasmine Crockett portion of the video that he said was so racist that I had to throw a white cube in the hot soup in order to cool things down. And then the second part I want to get to is this.
Through her fucking video, she realized how fucking racist she was being, so she pivoted to stop talking about Jasmine Crockett and instead talk about James Tellerico, the other Democrat. She never fucking mentioned the Republican.
I like Yukon Cornelius over here talking about gentrifying as he lives in a multi-million-dollar condo in Philly. When he says that, she realizes it's racist. By the way, it's they, Chucky. When he says, oh, they realized how racist it was, so they had to bring up James Tellerico. If that didn't set off some alarm bells for... Most of my content is talking about politics. Why? And I criticize the Democratic Party all the time. Why do you think that critiquing Jasmine Crockett or bringing up Tellerico is to deflect from racism that you claim was there? The only way that somebody might jump to that conclusion, which is a wild and big jump, is if that's how they operated. It's almost like you're a goddamn racist And that's one of your tactics, and you accidentally shared your playbook with us. You think that you are going to hide behind her and use her blackness and her femininity as a human shield, one might say, to protect her campaign and thus the party from critique. But unlike you, gatekeeper on behalf of the Democratic Party and institutional power, I have the ability to look at and make a judgment about Representative Jasmine Crockett's record. You don't, because not only are you a giant, you have no respect for her or your audience for that matter. What about John Cornyn and the Republican? You fireball raggedy ass bitch. We are in a primary. Not to mention the bad faith of always bringing up Republicans whenever somebody criticizes a Democrat. Democrats have an 18% approval rating. Maybe focus on that. People like this are paid regardless of whether the Democrats win or lose. So just consider that next time you see this angry VeggieTale punching left.